Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan. And today, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon by talking about something, I guess you can say that's related to Marvel in some ways. It counts because there's like a partnership with Disney and whatnot. So, in that regard, yes, it does count, folks. So, I guess to give you a bit of context, so no one would be taking what I'm trying to say as I guess, out of context. Let me just provide you with something, a bit of information before I proceed to get to the point, I guess. If you've been on my channels long enough, you will know I'm perfectly fine with diversity. That in itself is perfectly fine. I don't mind if stories express this kind of a thing. However, it should never be just for its own sake. It should be more to the characters than the diversity. Having them in the stories is fine if provided if there's more to the characters than just that. That's one of the major problems I had with the live action remake of Cinderella. Okay, aside the fact that it's a remake, but there's literally nothing more to the character than her being a woman, being brave. That's it. That's all there is to this character. This version of the character is that she's a woman, and that's it. There's literally nothing more to the character than just that. So if you make characters that's diverse, give them more three-dimensional character traits because otherwise he's just gonna come off insulting. Otherwise, it shouldn't be a character trait unto itself, is what I'm saying. So okay, with that being said, the point of the video I'm trying to focus upon is something from Marvel Comics, and it's like a comic book line that they made, and it's the New Warriors. So yeah, they definitely went full blown social justice warriors in this case, folks. And yeah, this is a group of people I don't care for, the social justice warriors and whatnot, because they do come up with a bunch of morons. While in theory they want equal rights for everybody, which it's totally fine, but in practice it's a totally different story because they're doing it all wrong. So yeah, these social justice warriors are basically this I guess in a sense they're basically these types of individuals that try to use complex, serious social and economic and political issues as a way to gain their own agenda by claiming that they find for the correct way. Specifically, it is used to refer to people claim to be fighting for social justice, but at the end of the day are just vital, are just gonna go for their own ego boost for special treatment or intention. Ironically, when you think about it, social justice warriors are just causing more harm to their causes than actual good, as they are often very ill-informed or uninterested in actually discussing issues as they are more interested in being right in their own version of being right. And if anything, they're going against what is actually correct. So they say they want to fight for diversity, but if anything, they're actually going against their own interests, is what I'm getting at here. And that's definitely the truth here. They want everybody to be treated all sweet and all, but at the end of the day, they really don't. They're being really selective on what they really want to preach here. I mean, okay, if you want me to be more blunt about it, is that they're just lying and they're full of shit. They don't want to help minorities. They don't want to help the LGBT community. They just want to help themselves. So, yeah. So they just want all the attention to be brought upon themselves without actually using that very attention to be progressive. If anything, they're doing the exact opposite of what progression is. It's just that this comic book line is just pandering to these some group of individuals, acting as if they had nothing else to do, really. This reminds me of Captain Marvel. All she does is just fight, 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 fight. told someone isn't the proper way to actually win some people over. That's the exact opposite. So there's no real interesting stories to be here. Oh, they might be a lesbian, they might be bisexual, they might be gay, or they might be from a different country, or what have you. That's literally all there is to these characters. That's it. There's no distinctive personality traits or anything. I mean, okay, you can say they're brave and courageous, but even saying that is way too vague because you gotta get more insight on the characters than just those. Being gay is not a character trait or anything like that. Being a part of the LGBT in any kind of form or way is not in itself a character trait. There needs to be more to the character than just that. LGBT or what have you type of characters in comics, that's not the problem. It's the portrayal of these types of characters that's the problem. It's the way you handle them. So because it just comes off, it's if anything, it's an insult, really. I know there's some people out there going to be calling me, oh, you're homophobic, oh, you're transphobic, or you're racist, and that's the problem too. Because you use your emotions to get angry to make a judgment, that's the wrong way to do it. So that's another thing I don't understand when it comes to these types of individuals, these social justice warriors, if you want to call them. They'll immediately attack you if you want to criticize some of their work, and that's not the way to do it. I mean, come on, you're getting your work out there, so of course it's eventually going to get criticized. On my YouTube channel, that's basically what I do, review stuff and whatnot. I criticize stuff all the time. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person for doing such a thing. And and of course you do have to be educated in certain things, obviously. But another thing is that if you've been around my videos long enough, you would know I have nothing against the LGBT community. If you're even be like that, that's fine. If that's how you were born, that's fine. I got nothing against that. But I just come off like this is the wrong way of doing it when you think about it. Okay, if as if it wasn't obvious enough, if anything, I'm pissed off at the social justice warriors, not the LGBT community itself. Just to make it more obvious, this isn't the proper way to do it. If you want to have these types of characters in comic books, okay, fine. But it's the stories themselves and how the characters are being portrayed that makes it really, really uninteresting. And yeah, it's not doing so well. When they were announcing these kinds of characters, yeah, a lot of people it met with such negativity because they saw through the bullshit. So it was basically just a social justice team of teen superhero movies, and that's it. Like I said, there's nothing more to these characters to to be like this. So yeah, there's nothing more to these characters. There's nothing really, anything really. Sort of reminds me of a character from the Batgirl 52 series, and she's a trans character. Yeah, she's supposed to be like this activist, this environmental activist and whatnot, and she's Barbara Gordon's best friend and trans woman, but there's not really much to the character really, other than being trans and an activist. And yeah, she's really shallow in a lot of ways. There's not much of a character really, which is disappointing because I did like the 52 series overall. So that's a bit disappointment. I guess a better example is Wanda from the Sandman series, whom basically, had kind of a bad life in some ways. She, yeah, she realized in during her teen years that not everything is so clear cut, so she ran away to New York City and stopped talking to her parents. Her aunt talks to her occasionally, but it's not exactly supportive. Yeah, what a cunt. So, yeah, she has more dimensions of character. A lot do like that. Example I liked is, I also thought it was a good example too, is this character. And yeah, that's the thing. She had gained her powers while working as a prostitute because one of the clients was this individual who happens to be this radioactive intersex individual. And yeah, had sex, and there you go. A pretty crazy way, I guess, to gain your superpowers, but I guess it's creative. It's supposed to be more this adult theme kind of a thing. I thought that was pretty cool there. And here we get nothing really, nothing at all. At all. I didn't like the characters. They were supposed to be traditionally consist of teenage and young adult heroes, and were often served as like his junior counterparts to the Avengers in much of the way like those New Mutants and X Force did with the X Men. But yeah, these are supposed to be like another types of characters in these incarnations. So yeah, it's supposed to be like a new kind of a team, have their own superhero adventures and whatnot, going through various adventures trying to fight crime or whatever. There's not really much to this. When it comes to the plot of these issues, really, there's not really much of it. It's just really plain. So yeah, I mean, there was various counterparts and various characters of this, of course, but I don't even like the designs at all either. And I thought Squirrel Girl looked like shit. The new versions, well, this version of Squirrel Girl looks like shit. What happened to the other one? I like the other one much better. Look, she looks much better. What's going on here exactly? Redo, 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 redo. Starting over, and that's what happened with Squirrel Girl, which makes no sense. And yeah, there's other characters that fell the same route because that's what happened with Batgirl with a lot of terrible storylines. Even Wonder Woman fell to this, and it happened quite a few times. And even there was one period she didn't have any powers, and she solved crime by using karate. That's really stupid. I mean, come on. Frank Miller came around, of course, and he attempted to do like a dark version, I guess, of Batman. When he basically just, yep, pressed this, folks. And yeah, it wasn't very good. I didn't like his version of Batman because he was basically a fascist, really. And yeah, of course, Wonder Woman was not safe from this. When Frank Miller got his hands on this character, and yeah, you guessed it, he did that. So yeah, that was awful. I really did not like his version of Wonder Woman, and yeah, he basically did it. He pretty much did this. This is what he did to the character, and this version of the character actually showed up in the Injustice 2 video game and in the first one as well, but more so in the sequel. Oh boy, this was definitely one of the worst versions of this character ever. I mean, okay, granted, Marvel is guilty of doing the same thing. The writers have done this kind of a thing before. Yeah, they did that to multiple times with multiple stories. I don't see the point of that. It was just really absurdly dumb. And yeah, my point is that these characters, they're supposed to be like new versions of certain characters or whatever, swapping their sexual orientation, or swapping race, or swapping gender. That's that's just outright lazy. So it's supposed to be focusing on these group of characters, trying to help a certain individual, this vigilante, to wage a war on crime. So yeah, it's just basically the same old stuff you've seen before. Nothing really new, actually, with the overall plot. I don't understand as to why I should invest my time into reading multiple stories when you're just gonna just scrap all that and throw it in the bin and just start from this drawing board. I mean, really, you can just wipe out all that and just start from the very beginning all over again. That seems like a great waste of my time. And great waste of time with the writers and whatnot. You can just do that. I view it as something pointless. Really, utterly pointless. So it just comes off. There's nothing original, really. There's nothing creative. I don't even like the character designs, really. I don't like the colors. I mean, it could make it good, but it just seems like really half-assed altogether as well. So there's like no real creative stuff going on. It's just, if anything, just I would describe them as maybe it's just rip-off type characters off of other characters as well. And then they're gonna have like an overweight character or whatever, as if to say that's body positivity, which I do find to be awfully hypocritical because when it comes to the overweight characters and whatnot, trying to explain how people should be acceptive of other body types, that's a double standard because if there's a skinny character and if you're attracted to skinny characters, you get shamed for that. People claim that you're fatophobic just because of the fact that you're not attracted to Instead, they want you to be attracted to something like this. Just no, no. You're not fatophobic if you don't find this attractive. Because when you think about it, that's just really, really unhealthy. That's really unhealthy. That goes against body positivity. So they get mad at you for liking this kind of body and just scream and shout at you for doing that kind of a thing. So that's just ridiculous because of the fact they're trying to force you. Yep, you heard me, forcing you to like a woman like this. That's just no, just a big no because they're criticizing you for having a preference, so they're gonna force you to have a preference. That makes you them a hypocrite, a big time hypocrite. You realize that that attitude actually goes against having diversity? How can you not realize that? Are you that blind? It does seem like it. So, yeah, this kind of mentality is going to be expressed in the comics, and it really does not make any sense. Really, this is not a good way to present an argument. I mean, if you're going to have some sort of conflict within the story, that's fine. When you think about it, you're supposed to have a conflict in the story. I'm all for having conflict, but this just comes off like one-sided. It's just a one-sided argument. And because when you think about it, even superhero characters don't always get along. That's never expressed in the comic book line. When you think about it, even if you're a bad guy, a good guy, or maybe a morally gray character, you're not going to always get along with anyone really, regardless of what side that you're on. But of course, not they don't want to express that kind of thing, and this goes into my another problem. It's so black and white. That's what I'm getting at. It's so black and white. Everything just comes off sugar coated. No pun intended. So they don't want to express any variety of type of storyline to stick to the basic stuff they might know of superhero stuff. So that doesn't make it. That's just something that I feel that to be really, really ridiculous. So you're gonna really go to this kind of individual people who are extremely irrational, spoiled kind of people who think it is up to them to challenge the world. And it's also known to these kind of people, typically a social justice warrior that's easily brainwashed in some kind of way, I guess, and claim that everyone else is the bad guy. I mean, yes, there are still bigots out there. Don't get me wrong, folks. I do understand that there's a bunch of racists, there's a bunch of homophobic people, there's transphobic, and there's sexist people out there. Unfortunately, in this day and age, in 2020, yes, unfortunately, that's still a thing. But yeah, there's also things like skinny shaming or and whatnot. That is a thing too. Or there's also kink shaming and slut shaming. These types of things do exist in the real world as well. But it's funny how a lot of these individuals don't discuss that at all. This is really, really ridiculous that you have this kind of mentality, and it doesn't help anyone at all. It really does not help anyone. So it's just that's a funny, really moronic in a lot of ways. It does seem rather strange that they never would ever bring up characters. I don't know, like Chung Li. She's known for having a different body type for years. She's known for having a type of body that's not exactly the social norm of what a woman type of body is. But a lot of people seem to find her attractive anyway. Maybe it's because of the fact that her body is different than the typical woman, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm all for that. That's perfectly normal. Having a fit body like that is still curvy, but that kind of thing is never expressed here, like ever, like at all. Or another video game character like her, she's not exactly super thin, but she might be a bit chunky, but she's a healthy chunky. A healthy chunky is what I would say. And this is a healthy look for a woman that's not extremely skinny nor extremely obese. So she's a healthy weight. And this looks perfectly healthy. So yeah. She's still deemed attractive for some folks because the fat is evenly proportionate. And again, that's never expressed here, like ever, at all. So, yeah, folks. It's really, really stupid in a lot of ways, folks. Really, really stupid. There's nothing wrong. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with having different body types. I'm for that. But you don't have to shame people for liking different body types. Again, that's never here at all. What about the people get shamed for liking body parts? They don't fight for people like that. And that's another thing. Instead of the social justice warriors type of people, rather than just using diplomacy to educate those who don't know better, so what they do instead, they make the situation worse by yelling, screaming, and kicking. That does the exact opposite. Just because you felt offended doesn't really mean that something is offensive, really. And you're doing the exact opposite of what will bring the situation down. If anything, you're making it worse by adding fuel to the fire. So yeah, this kind of characters is really bad, folks. This really didn't motivate me to actually read further of the comics. This is a type of video I wasn't really expecting to make. Really, I mean, I was aware of these characters before, way before, but I had no interest on talking about it. But since it was requested, I guess I use this as an excuse to talk about Disney and whatnot. And another thing, I know I've mentioned this before, but when it comes to the superhero genre, honestly, I really don't care for it. Really, I mean, I'll watch it, of course, to give it a chance. I'm willing to give any kind of superhero story a chance, but still, it's fine to de de-escalate a situation if it reaches that point. That's fine. I'm not saying to not say anything. I'm not saying that. If you have to say something, speak up. That's fine. And another thing I want to bring up, I'm not saying to not defend yourself. If you're in a situation that you are forced to defend yourself, that's fine. I'm part of fine with self-defense. I am not saying that either. Another thing that I find out rather odd is that when it comes to sex itself, let's say, an example. Let's say, there's a really sexy cheerleader with a curvy body in a comic, and she's like a superhero or whatever, and she likes to the pom poms, the the ponytails, the works. But the thing is that she likes to have sex. She's very sexually active. I find it odd that people would find that character to be degrading towards women just because she likes to have sex. That's just flat out stupid. Multiple sex partners isn't in itself a bad thing. It's up to the person, of course. And then, okay, another thing I want to bring up is that going along with what I just said a moment ago. Let's make a bisexual. But if someone uses her bisexuality to fill up the most stereotypical character traits of bisexual people, nobody fights against that. They would just call her a whore, which is, of course, is stupid. And again, I know I said this before, no slut shaming. I am not keen on slut shaming. What someone does in the bedroom is nobody's business. But this is this kind of stuff that is just ass backwards, folks. It's really ass backwards overall. I mean, yes, like I said way earlier, I'm fully aware of the fact there's bigots. Yes, that kind of thing's still around, unfortunately. Even if it's 2020, that's still a thing. And yes, there's plenty of situations that do need to be fixed. I understand that. And yes, people still mistreat trans people. People still mistreat gay men. People still mistreat lesbians. So on and so forth. Unfortunately, yes, that's still a thing. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to disguise that. Okay, I do recognize that there's still racist. There's still bigots. And there's still people who discriminate against the rich. Yes, that's a thing. And people still discriminate against people who are lower income. And just unfortunately, that's still a thing. This kind of stuff is still exists, unfortunately, yes. But like I said, I'm not trying to disguise anything. Discrimination still comes in all shape and forms. Unfortunately, that is true. But there has to be more to the story than just that. There has to be more to the characters than their sexual orientation. There has to be more to the character than their gender identity. Is all I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get at. There has to be more to the character than just their association with the LGBT community, even if they were just supportive. There are straight people who do support the LGBT. And another missed opportunity is that the these stories rarely explore this, but there's plenty. I'm not saying all of them, of course, not all of them, but there's plenty of straight people who believe that if they support the LGBT community, they'll automatically become gay just by doing that, which of course isn't the case. Thus, you can use this. They could have used this as a way to clarify some things and get some of the basics out the way to clarify certain things. So, if anything, this entire comic book line is one big missed opportunity. So, what I'm getting at, rather than just trying to educate people, what does it do instead? It beats you over the head into thinking that what the comic books seem to think what it's right, rather than just educating the people what is actually the truth. I'm pretty sure all those who are listening anyway are fully aware of the whole Black Lives Matter and whatnot, so I'm not going to go too much into detail because this video itself is already going lengthy as it is. But there are actually some Caucasians out there who are actually willing to team up with the Black Lives Matter movement, which is nice. And they are trying to merge together with the LGBT community. Well, okay, well, those who are okay with it anyway. And yeah, this kind of a thing is never discussed really in comics. So when it comes to superhero stuff, you can use this as a reflection on society as a whole. You can do that. I mean, I get what they're trying to get at and whatnot. But again, this whole comic book line is a total missed opportunity. I was trying to say here. One of my favorite trilogies is the Dark Knight trilogy. Even though I'm not a fan of the character really, like at all. But from a film perspective, it tells a great story, great characters, and it remains one of the greatest trilogies of all time. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that Harley Quinn didn't make the cut, but hey, still a great trilogy anyway. But still, my point is that it's grim, it's dark, it's gloomy. I'm not saying every comic book should be super depressing or anything, but point being, hey, that's life. Life gets depressing at times. Life gets complicated. That's never expressed here. If anything, the new Warriors comic book series is a joke. It's nothing but a joke. It's a laughing stock. And of course, I'm not trying to spread hate, obviously, but I'm just trying to point out the flaws in some of things. Anyway, this has been a long ass video, so I appreciate anybody's watching. You can't choose your sexual orientation, just like you can't choose the color of your skin that you were born with. So, you think about that. So anyway, folks, I'll just wrap it up. This has been a long video as it is, so thank you anybody that's actually watched this. And again, I'm not trying to spread hate towards anybody. We are human, sure, but just didn't like the approach that they were doing with these said characters. It's not very good. It's not very good at all. There's not much of a story, really, like, at all. I mean, if you want to call that a story, it's very bare minimum. Very, very bare minimum. And it doesn't really do anything new with the narrative. You've just seen comic book superhero stuff before. It's the same shit. It's all the same shit. And they were trying to do retweak it, but at the end of the day, it just comes out like it's same old, really. Anyway, folks, I don't just making ranting like I usually would do. I'm usually ranting about stuff as usual. Well, anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah. Take care.